Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Soul Goals Podcast. I'm Dawn, and I am so glad you're joining me. This podcast is dedicated to bringing people's stories to light and hearing their journeys of both inspiration and self-growth. It's also about connection, though, and knowing you are not alone. Every week, I get the chance to sit down and talk with an amazing soul, somebody I've had the blessing of either meeting or following in my life. I am so very grateful for my guests and their openness and their vulnerability as we share real and heartfelt conversations and stories together. I hope that you can find some inspiration for your day, just as much as I've been able to by hearing them. Everyone has a story, and every story matters. Hey, everybody, welcome. My name is Dawn. It's another episode of the Soul Goals Podcast. Today, I am joined by one of my dearest friends from a very long time ago. And I shouldn't say a very long time ago. Maybe it was 2000 and 2010.
Girl, that was a long time ago. That was
It was. And like, if we're counting years, it was a long time ago. But I don't count years because we're two females and years don't count, right? We age.
No, they don't.
And they don't count, just like calories don't count when you need them.
When you're on vacation, no.
Right, exactly. My guest today is Rissi Palmer. She is a gifted singer and musician, but the more I get to know her and follow her career, I'm going to let you know that not only is she a gifted singer and musician, she's also an inspirational chain link for so many different people in the music industry, specifically for artists in the industry who've struggled to be seen and struggled to be heard. It didn't all start there. It's not where she's at the beginning. It's where she is now. So at the beginning, gosh, the ripe age of 19, you had your first deal and record deal in the country music industry. You have shared the stage with Taylor Swift, the Eagles, among so many others. I just named those two because those are two of my favorites. And I love that you were with them on stage. Featured in People Magazine, Newsweek, New York Times, the list goes on and on and on. Also a featured spokesperson on CMT. Is that something you're still engaged in?
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that a little bit too. Rissi grew up with music in her home. And I think this is the coolest thing ever. She coins her music now as this eclectic thing called Southern Soul. Dude, I love Southern Soul. That's a great analogy for what it is that you are and what it is that you do, and all encompassing everything that you've done musically. So let's pen that. Let's start a new musical genre. All right. We got to do the paperwork for it right now. Rissi's also the host of Color Me Country on Apple Music Podcasts. And she has two beautiful daughters, currently living in the Carolinas. I won't tell you exactly.
In Durham. Yeah.
No, it's in Durham. Okay, there you go.
Yep.
Yeah. So, folks, without further ado, welcome Rissi Palmer.
Hey, Dawn.
Hey. I'm so glad that you agreed to talk today. I'm excited to virtually see you. I'm giving you a virtual hug.
I know. It's been way too long. I'm so glad to see you.
Yes, way too long. How have you been? You good?
I'm good. You know, life is lifing.
But
I'm just
same way. You were just telling me before we hit the record that you were working with your daughter reading To Kill a Mockingbird. Like how old is she now?
Grace is 12 and she's in 7th grade. And she's on break now because she's doing year-round school. Okay. So they're on their first break. And we're trying to keep her not dumb over the next 3 weeks. And so Brian, her father, is working with her on math and science.
Okay.
Like an hour a day. And I am in charge of writing and reading.
Yes, you're the English department.
I am the English department. So we are currently, I haven't read To Kill a Mockingbird since I was 12.
Me too.
So yeah, it's no longer required anymore. So
that whole we could go down.
So we're doing the Mommy and Grace book club, and that's what we're going to do that for the rest of the year. And just read together and work on reading comprehension, work on writing,
Yes.
and all that. So, and I get to reread books from my childhood.
I
So,
love it. I love it. Yes. So let's talk about your childhood a little bit, right? Your roots in where you are now actually started at a very young age. I know that you grew
mhm.
up with a musical family, introduced to a lot of different music.
Somewhat, yeah,
Yeah, well, they were
yeah,
interested in it and they exposed you to it at a very young
yeah,
age, right?
yes.
Um, where did you get the desire to perform? Because that's initially what you started doing.
I I think I just like, some people are just like natural born performers. I honestly think that that was what it was for me. Like, 'cause I can't remember a time when I didn't want to be in front of people and I didn't want to sing in front
Okay.
of people. Like, I'd say this all the time, but like my mom in my baby book, when I was like 2, wrote, she sings constantly.
Okay. That's what she said at
Yeah,
age
she
2?
said she sings constantly. That's actually what a
Oh.
doctor said about me
Oh,
at my checkup. And so this baby sings all the time.
oh my
And
god.
so yeah,
So you were destined to do that.
kinda, yeah. I think that I mean, I believe everybody has a purpose.
Yes.
And I know that now more than ever before in my life. And I think that that's my purpose. Like this is making noise is my
Making
purpose.
noise is your purpose, yeah.
Mhm.
So when I met you, you were living in Nashville. You're in Durham now,
Mhm.
but you were working in the music industry. You were a young upcoming artist. Can you give me a little bit more about your time in Nashville, like as a young artist, pros, cons. I know your goals were much different
Oh, they're
then
very different.
than where they are, what they are now. I mean, everybody's goals shift and evolve as you age and as you go through life and experiences for sure. But where you saw yourself at when you were 19 living in Nashville and performing is totally not where you are now.
Oh my
So,
God. No,
I
like
mean,
just it almost makes me laugh because it was just like it's like a different person.
yeah.
When you knew me, Lord, I was like right at the apex of hot mess. And so like it was
You were not a hot mess.
close to it. I was
Okay.
like, and I appreciate you saying that, but it felt like complete and total chaos. But really what it was that God was putting me back on track. And
Yes.
so yeah, so I came to Nashville initially, I was 18.
Yeah.
I had just left college and I was working with a management company, two women. Um, and we, in the very beginning, country music wasn't, I grew up listening to country, loved country all the time, but didn't really see it as like a viable way for me to get into the business. And so, because I didn't see other Black women doing it. So I
Right.
didn't think it was a thing that we did.
Right.
We meaning Black people. And so I wanted to be what everybody else was. I wanted to be Mariah Carey and Destiny's Child and Lauren Hill and like all the people that were popular when I was that age. And so my managers met me my senior year of high school and they took me to New York the summer I graduated high school to record a demo. And so I did these 3 songs. I wrote them and recorded these songs. And, in the hotel, I'd be writing songs in my little notebook. And they were like, well, what are you writing all the time? And I was
Okay.
like, these are just my songs.
Okay.
And they asked me about,
They didn't know that you were writing songs?
well, they knew that I was writing songs, but they knew that I was writing the songs in the studio. But they were just like, you're just always writing.
Okay.
So what
Got
are
it.
you doing? And so I was just like, well, these are songs. And so they were like, well, sing us one of your songs. So I sang them this song. And they're like, that's a country. This sounds like a country song. And I
Oh,
was like, I know. And I was like, I'm writing this for Reba McEntire. And they both looked at each other and they were just like, you write songs like with people. I was like, yeah, I write everything, but yeah, this is what I like to write. And so they were just like, Reese, this is a thing. Like
yes.
this is your thing.
Yes.
And so we just completely changed course. And had they not given me the permission to be that person, I don't know that I would have done it.
Wow.
And yeah, so I mean, they were very extremely. Our relationship was fraught with lots of other stuff, but
Mhm.
that's one of the biggest blessings that they gave me
Yeah.
was permission to be this person.
To be yourself.
And yeah,
Yeah. God.
and so then we just completely changed course, and through like a series of like very serendipitous events, I ended up meeting a publisher in Nashville. This publisher was interested in me as an artist, and they signed me to a publishing deal when I was 19.
That's great. And for people
And
that don't know what that is, publishing deal is basically a writer's deal.
yeah,
It's based on your creativity and it's your ability to write songs for yourself, for other people. It's
hmm,
a huge deal, especially as a 19-year-old, 18, 19.
right.
Yeah.
With like no life
Yeah.
experience really or anything. And so like
Yeah.
I just they my first publishers were amazing. And they taught me pretty much everything that I know about writing songs, about songwriting, and like picking songs,
Yeah.
knowing what songs sound good with your voice and
Right.
like that sort of thing. Like they taught me everything. That time at Song Planet, Song Planet was the name of the publishing company, was like college for me. That was
Mm.
college for me.
I
And
love that.
so I did that from 19 to 22 was when Song Planet ceased to exist. And I was independent again, but at that point, I had found all my writer people
Mhm.
that I like to
Yeah.
write with and that kind of thing. And so I kept writing. We took meetings with the record companies in Nashville, and a lot of them right away wanted to take the meeting. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of it was curiosity.
Sure.
Some of them took the meeting sight unseen. So they just heard the music. They didn't see who I was.
Yeah.
And, a lot of the enthusiasm that people had when they first heard the music changed once they saw me
Oh god.
because, you know, how do we market someone like you? How do we find songs for someone like you? And
Yeah.
like, these are real statements.
Oh, wow.
So,
In your young 20s, you're
mhm,
sitting there and you're having these conversations with people about you
mhm.
face to face. How do we market someone like you?
I was like, someone from St. Louis? Like, what?
I
Like,
mean
what do you
I mean,
mean?
can we look past what you're seeing in face to face? You know what I'm saying? You look a little
Yeah,
bit deeper because obviously what you were saying, some of them took the meeting sight unseen. There's something there about you musically and about you as a performer, as a musician as a whole. So that speaks volumes for me hearing that. Yeah.
yeah. It was interesting. So I ended up not signing a deal. And I was, a lot of people say that Nashville is like a 7-year town, and that really was what it was for me because
Yeah.
I didn't get signed until I was 26.
Yeah.
And it was a record company that was not based in Nashville. It was an indie that was based in Atlanta,
Okay.
actually. And but in between then, like I had been, you may want to edit that out. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Um, I was I'd been offered a deal from Terry Lewis and Jimmy Jam, and anybody that knows Janet Jackson's career knows Terry Lewis and Jimmy Jam.
Yeah.
And I ended up not taking that deal because they wanted me to sing pop. They didn't want to do the country thing. And so I ended up not taking that deal. That happened when I was like 2020.
Yeah. So
And
you were thinking at that point, like your roots, like what you really felt was I'm this is a direction I want to go in.
yeah.
You even as a 20-year-old, you stuck to that, which I think is that would be really, really hard in the music industry.
Yeah. It was, I mean, for a long time I really regretted it,
Mm,
and felt I don't know, I felt like maybe I'd missed my opportunity because nothing came along for
yeah.
6 years after that.
Yeah.
And so, and in that time also I met Prince, and Prince kind of became like a little bit of I guess a mentor. It's weird to say that Prince was your mentor, but like it
Oh,
was,
that's crazy. Yeah.
um, but we had the same attorney, and Prince, I don't know, he took a liking to me musically,
Mhm.
and would just like very Prince clandestine ways would just show up in my life, like on the phone. They're like, "Hey, Prince is on the line. He wants to talk to you." "Oh, okay. Hey,
Hi.
what, what's up?" And like, and he'd want to talk about music and what I'd been working on and what I'd been writing, and like give me advice, and and just guidance on like this business and songwriting and all these things. And it was really awesome. And that went on for a few years. And
I had no idea.
yeah, no,
I
I
had
don't
no
I
idea.
don't talk about it a lot because I don't want to be one of those people that's like the name drop. So, my dear friend Prince,
Yeah.
and I
You're
like,
not, though.
so
Anybody that meets you or talks to you for more than 60 seconds will know that. That's not you. It's not your MO, your person.
yeah.
But that's so super exciting. That's a part
Yeah,
of your
no,
really,
it's a part of my journey. Yeah.
yeah. So you've been releasing and recording material since roughly 2006, 2007-ish?
2007 was the first. Yeah.
Okay. What's your favorite project been so far?
The children's record. I put out a children's
Okay.
record in 2013,
Okay.
called Best Day Ever. And I think it's my favorite because number one, it's the um, piece of first independent project that I did ever.
Yeah.
After leaving the record company, after all the drama and everything, like I moved here, I got married, and I had my first child. I had Grace, and I was inspired by going to baby music classes. And so
Love
I was just like, I want to make a children's record. And so Brian, my husband, was had it not been for him being able to financially um what's the word? Fund the
support.
project.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Without that, I wouldn't have been able to do it. And
Yeah.
so we put together a budget. I called friends in Nashville, and we took 2 weeks, a week to write the songs and then a week to record them. And that was the first project. And then it was inspired by Grace and by childhood, and just it was so much fun. It reminded me of why I love doing this in the first place.
Yeah.
And it was healing for
Yes.
me. And so I will always look at that project as my favorite.
Just got a total chill when you said that. Is
Yeah.
yeah, it's super important to think about the fact that it is, I mean, going back to where you started, I think we all, depending on whatever career you're in, we all kind of get in that place of we get away from it. We stray away from it.
Hmm.
And I wager to bet your 20-year-old self would be like, I'm writing a
Children's book.
children's children's album. What?
You are singing to children, really? Yeah. No, I think 20-year-old Reese would definitely think that was really funny.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think it's amazing. And I love it that it's a full circle moment for you and that it encompasses your love for your daughter, but also, again, reconnects you to that root of where you started. Yeah.
yeah, 100%.
Um, what was the decision for actually leaving Nashville?
Oh my God, that was such a what a weird time. So I was probably at like peak popularity and work and like money making and all of that. This was 2009,
Okay.
and Country Girl, I'd released 3 singles at this point. Um and had some chart success. I had toured. I had, done all the things that new artists do, played the morning shows, played the Opry,
Yes, yeah.
um, made history with Country Girl. I was like the first Black woman in like 20 years to be on the Billboard country charts at that point.
Love it.
And like all these things were happening, and I was just miserable. I had a
Mhm.
television show with on Travel Channel. I had just signed a modeling contract. So like that's where life was in 2009. And I was drinking
Yeah.
and just not happy. I just for a myriad of reasons. Like I was being treated like a product, like an iPhone.
Yeah.
And I was being marketed and being told what to do, what to wear, what to say, what not to say, who I should be dating. Um, and like I was in a relationship that I shouldn't have been in,
Mhm.
that was inappropriate and also um, made my business life really hard.
Right.
And yeah, it was not a good time. And so the wake up call came when a member of my band tells me that they hadn't been paid. And I was like, "What do you mean you haven't been paid?" And they were like, "We haven't been paid all year."
Oh,
And
wow.
I come to find out that like the label was no longer paying the band. And so I had to come out of my pocket and pay them like $30,000
Wow.
for the year.
What was the
And
what was that all about? Was it just within
the record label was running out of money and wasn't telling any of us that.
Mm, mm, mm.
And then like I had to record this song. So I did no air. The song came out great. Nathan Chapman did an awesome job on the
Yeah,
production. I did not want to record that song.
yeah.
And the label insisted that I record the song, and I was basically told that I was recording the song.
Wow.
And I had been looking forward to working on a new record, and I had already started writing. And then I was told that there was not going to be a second record, that they were going to just record some new songs and re-release my first album, which meant no more money.
Oh, wow.
And
Well,
the
that kinda makes
relationship,
a decision for you at that point,
oh
like,
yeah,
you have to do what's best for you.
yeah, the relationship came to a head, like all kinds of things. And
Sure,
the record company was involved in the modeling contract. They were involved in the television contract. And so all these things they had a hand in.
sure.
And I was getting the shaft. And so I sat down with my lawyer and my manager, and I was just like, what do we do? And the only recourse that I had was to file bankruptcy.
Yeah.
So I filed bankruptcy in 2009,
Mhm.
and that ended my relations, that terminated my relationship, my contract with the record company.
Right.
And it took me a whole year because they disputed it and it turned into a trial.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and I
How
couldn't
old are you
sing.
at that point?
I
20.
was 28,
Yeah, you're young.
27. I was 27, about to turn 28.
Yeah.
And yeah, my 28th birthday, I was doing a deposition in Nashville, actually.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, that was rough. It's rough. That was a
Mm,
rough year.
yes.
And, I had like problems with my voice. I had developed nodes,
Mm,
and I was just stressed out, and I couldn't perform. And I was working a regular job because I couldn't perform. So I had to support myself somehow.
right.
And yeah. And so everything just kind of, all that forward momentum stopped.
Mm.
And I was granted my release from the record label. I will never forget this, Thanksgiving of 2009.
Oh, wow.
It was the day before Thanksgiving when I was given my release.
Do you look at that as being I mean, you're thankful that you're out of it, but I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
thinking Thanksgiving, like,
Oh,
do
that
you
was
look
God.
yeah, yeah. It was
Yeah.
like, "Hey, I'm gonna put this right here for you so that you remember it, right? And you can know what it is that works for you and what doesn't work for you moving forward.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And so it didn't become official until 2010.
Okay.
And then 2010 rolled around and I thought that I was going to hit the ground running and I'm going to record new music, I'm going to get signed again, and
Oh no.
like everybody dropped me. And I I started dating Brian, my
Mhm.
husband, and I left Nashville and I got married and I moved to North Carolina and I got pregnant with Grace.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much the end of my time in Nashville.
So when you there's I know with all of that you just said, that's a load, and the
Oh
stress that
yeah.
you carried and that you went through. When you moved, was it a relief to leave it, or was it kind of like I miss that musical side, I miss that musician side. I feel like was there a piece that you couldn't take with you that wouldn't be positive? Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. I definitely left with my tail between my legs, like for sure.
Yeah.
It was not, I mean, it was happy in so much as I was embarking on like this new chapter of my life, right? But that part of me was just like, which is such a big, important part of who I am. I had a friend recently tell me that they realized that music is my first love.
Yes.
And I was like, God, it is. It really is. And it always has been.
Yeah.
And so, when you have to leave your first love and the thing that makes you happiest and all of that, like that's hard. I can't imagine that that's easy for anybody. And so I was happy in other parts of my life, but like I was extremely unfulfilled
Right.
in the professional and the purpose part of my life.
Right. How did you, because I know now you are in such a different place and there's a lot of fulfillment
Very.
you are. Um, what's the gap between that time and now? I mean, what did you do to fill that, to get yourself back into maybe realign your compass, right? Figure out what your center line is and where you really wanted to be and what you wanted to do.
Oh, I died many ego deaths in that time.
No. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I Oh,
Oh,
it's a good thing. I think in some ways it's a really good thing. So I had the baby. I
mhm,
taught baby music for a hot second.
okay.
And that's kind of got me prepared to do the children's record because I was so immersed in children's music at that point and
Yeah.
like developmental things and like what children need to hear, what children need to say. Like, so that was really good. Like that was like a year of research. And then we did the children's project and doing that and having the success that we had from that, I did back porch sessions. It
Yes.
gave me confidence because I had lost a lot of confidence and I was experiencing stage fright
Oh,
and a
wow.
lot of anxiety about being in front of people.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
I it's always been, I think I was waiting for someone to come save me.
Okay.
And there were like near misses. So like we had a label that was interested in the children's record, but ultimately they decided not to pick it up.
Ah,
So we ended up doing it ourselves. I say we, my husband and I. And um then with back porch sessions, there was another label interested in that. And so I realized, not realizing I had done all of the work up
mhm.
until then. We raised the money. I had secured the producers. I wrote the songs.
Yes.
Um, I set up mixing and mastering. We did the photo shoot, put the art together, revamped the website, like did all these things that record labels do for artists.
For you, yeah.
And I was still waiting on someone to come save me because I didn't have the confidence in my ability to do it myself.
Well, and to know and to recognize that you were already doing it.
I was already doing all of that. And so when the label came in and was like, "Oh, we love this. We want to sign you." I was so excited. I was like, "Yes, finally, we're saved." And then they ended up not taking me. They had a merger and they decided not to sign any more artists, and that was it. So I had to put it out myself. So like when I say many ego deaths, it took me till that project to realize like you're going to have to do this yourself. If you want to continue to do this, you're going to have to do this yourself.
Right.
And so that empowered me in a way that I hadn't really been empowered before because there was always a manager, there was always an agent, there was always a publisher, there was always, someone there to do it. But now, like if I needed it done, I had to do it.
Yes.
And I'm really glad that that happened because I needed that. I needed that kick in the ass to get up and do it.
Yeah. And I think then you get to this point and you can look back and you're so much more fulfilled. I had the same conversation with one of my previous guests about, the hard shit that we go through. I mean, it really, really does give us some really beautiful gifts and insights. And that's what really helps us grow and evolve into really knowing what it is that we want and ultimately what we don't want.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think
No.
beautifully to that confidence thing. I think a lot of people do lack that confidence. And the funny thing though, and hearing you talk is that, God, you were doing it the whole time.
Mhm.
So when did
No,
you open that door and go, oh my God, when did you realize that well, damn, I'm not this
I
let's
have a
open a
record
record
label.
label. Did we just say that
Yeah.
at the same time? Yeah.
Yeah, we did. It's like I have a record label. It was my former manager, who's still a very dear friend of mine. His name is Ron Gilliard. And he's been a record executive with Bad Boy and with, all these different labels, Interscope and so on and so forth. So he knows the business.
Yeah.
And so I would call him and consult him. And at one point he was like, "I'm proud of you." And I was like, "Why you say that?" And he's like, "Cause he's like, you're doing all this stuff, you're making all this stuff happen for yourself."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Really?" And cause to me it felt so small and it felt so like incremental and like I felt like I was pushing a rock up a hill. And I mean, you are in the music business, you just are.
Yeah.
But to have someone like him, someone that I respect and someone that I admire very much, say that about me made me step back. And it's like, you know what? Yeah. Because like at that point, I had been doing it for 10 years on my own.
Gosh.
And like any gigs that I had, it was because I wrote to the venue and because I reached out and because I did the showcase,
Mhm.
because I did, because I played to the room of 10 people
Yes.
and someone saw me and then recommended me for this other thing. And, if I did the interview, it was because I set the interview up
Right.
or because, just whatever. So I was the one working social media. I was the one that was, making sure that my publishing was in order and all that stuff. And so, yeah, it dawned on me that yes, you are the white horse, the knight on the white horse. You are saving yourself.
Yes. And that's such an analogy for your life, I think. And for excuse me, for all of the things that you've gone through. And ultimately the things that you continue to go through, it's still going to be a lesson that'll be weaving in and out of your
Yeah.
life. I mean, it just is what it is. I want to kind of shift gears just a little bit and talk because another really cool thing that came out of all of that, you kind of that elbow grease, that stuff you did for 10 years on your own, and that creativity that really burst out of you was the podcast, the Apple Music podcast that you're doing, Color Me Country. Tell me a
Uh-huh.
little bit about how that came about. Because I know Color Me Country is it's an old song.
Yeah.
And I
It's
don't know the
go ahead. I'm
artist name.
sorry.
I don't know the artist's name on it, but I do recognize it as being an old song. And that was a choice that you made to name that because of obviously this is
The
what
artist.
yeah,
Yeah.
platform.
So it's so Color Me Country, first of all, is the name of Linda Martell's first album. This album came out in 1968. It was called Color Me Country.
Yeah.
And It's significant to me because Linda Martell is the first Black woman to play the Grand Ole Opry. She is widely regarded as the only Black woman contemporary to Charlie Pride. She, to this date, is still the highest charting Black woman in the history of Billboard country charts. And
Crazy to think about. We're in
that was
2023.
1968. Yeah.
We're in 2023.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell you something else that's gonna blow your mind. So like there have only been 6 Black women, solo Black female artists to chart on Billboard. I am number 6.
Again, I just got chills. First of all, for you, but I'm also I'm yeah, my
Yeah,
God.
in terms of chart position, yeah, I'm number 6. And so um yeah, so anyway,
The
so Linda,
the
I'm
idea
sorry.
the idea to start that was born out of a real need that you saw that has been
Yeah,
there for a very, very long time.
yeah, so in 2020 during the pandemic, I was invited to be a part of an article that was the 50 commemorating the 50th anniversary of Color Me Country. And I was doing this interview with uh Mickey Guyton,
Yeah.
and we were just talking, and like while we were talking, I was just like, God, our stories, like the behind the scenes of the stories are exactly the same, because for the longest time I personalized a lot of the things that happened to me. And I was just like, well, it was just me. It's because maybe I wasn't good enough, or maybe, I just wasn't the one, or whatever. And then knowing some of the backstory about Linda, but learning more in the process of doing this, I was just like, Jesus, this is wild. Like someone needs to talk about this.
Yes.
And it was with a Black journalist, and I noticed how comfortable both of us were talking to her. And so I was just like, there might be something to that. And so that partnered with, like, this was at the same time that Lil Nas X was being kicked off of the country charts with Old Town Road. And one of my best friends was like, Rissi, you should do something with all this knowledge that you have.
Yeah.
And talking, she'd been telling me this for years. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And so finally I had all this free time. And so I just started calling other artists of color that I knew and asking them if they had time to do an interview.
Yeah.
And I started recording. I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I started recording them in March of 2020. By June of 2020, I had 25 interviews done.
Oh, that's crazy.
And and still more in the can. And
Yeah.
so
Wow.
um through again a bunch of serendipitous um occurrences, someone that I met during the pandemic, another host, introduced me, Kelly McCartney introduced me to Apple Music,
Mhm.
and Apple Music took a meeting with me, and I told them about what I was thinking, and they were just like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
We want it. And that's how the radio show was born.
That's amazing. I think that highlighting that and bringing that to light. That's what I said earlier. I think that you're a huge chain link between people getting their stories out in that capacity. You started Apple Music came before CMT. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So tell me how the CMT, because you're a featured spokesperson on CMT's Hot 20, correct?
Yeah, I'm a special correspondent.
Okay.
Um no, it's so because of the show and because of the extremely warm, positive reception that the show has received, I was, people started suddenly asking me to be on boards and advisory teams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I ended up on a team with Leslie Fram, who is the head of talent at CMT.
Yeah.
And Leslie's just a really cool person. And she reached out to me during one of these meetings and was just like, can we have a meeting? And
Okay.
so we talked, and she was like, what do you want to do? Like, what would you like to do? And I said, honestly, I want my own TV show. I want a
Let's
talk
go.
show. And she laughed and she's like, well, I can't give you a TV show. She's like, but let me see what I can do. And so she set up a meeting with me and two of the producers from Hot 20. And, and it was great. We had great rapport
Yeah.
and back and forth. And they were just like, well, let's try you out and see how this works. And so beginning of 2021, I did my first assignment with them and they ended up signing me to a contract. And so I have been working with them since 2021.
That's amazing. I
Yeah,
love
it's
that.
great.
I mean, how often do you work for them?
So I get called in because I'm not one of their regular correspondents. So I
Mhm.
get called in. Like I just did a thing at Pilgrimage in Nashville last weekend.
Oh, you were here.
I was there. I came
Yeah.
in for the day to do Pilgrimage and I interviewed Marco Price and Charlie Wortham and Worsham, not Wortham,
Yeah.
Ashley McBride, Madeline Edwards, and the Warren Treaty.
Oh,
And it was great. And we had a really good time. And like it's just nice to see. It's funny, the things that I wish I had seen in the beginning of my career, as far as like other Black people or other Black women, or like just encountering other Black journalists
mhm.
or anything like that. And having a platform where I could go and I could be honest about the things that were happening to me. I didn't have that.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be that now for other people.
Well, and I feel like that's another part of your DNA that's been a part of
Yeah.
you because it's so supernatural for you to do that. It just kind of oozes out of you, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
I feel like this has been like a tailor-made um job for me.
yeah.
So it really has been pretty amazing.
So, which do you prefer at this point? Spokesperson? Maybe
Or
that's
artists,
to say because I'm like asking you, which childs do you like better?
which are your babies? No, I mean, I'll be honest with you, music is always and forever going to be my first love.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm coming to terms with now because you're always like, I don't know, I've always felt like, and I know a lot of women feel this, like it's not okay for you to say that your job is your favorite thing
Yeah.
in the whole world.
Yeah.
But like my job is my favorite thing in the whole world.
Preach.
And
Preach it.
um
Yes.
because my job is my purpose. Like it's not like a job. Like I don't punch a card. Like I think about it all the time and I
Yeah.
just do it. And like so it's hard to you just feel like I've always felt very discouraged at saying that it's my love, it's my job. So I love the music part to answer your question. I still am very much in love with that.
Yeah.
But I love this other part too a lot.
Yeah. So it's just it's just a huge thing with all these different pieces in it that encompasses it basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. I talked to
I
a
mean, it's
guest.
me. It's the business of
Yeah.
me, which is,
Oh, I love that. You write that song.
it really is. Like I have managed, I've been blessed enough to be able to immerse myself in the business of just being Rissi.
Yeah.
And I'm able to make a living off of that. And like I don't know of anything cooler or more blessed than that.
Yes. I talked to a guest early last week and he kind of had the same kind of delivery or same kind of outlook as you're talking about with the same he's super blessed to be doing what he's doing, but he said I just feel like I invested in this. It was my passion. It was my drive. And I didn't know how it was going to happen. I was
Yes.
open to it. And by being
Yes.
open to it, look at the opportunities that then are created. I think so many times, and maybe that's just because of youth too. Like you think back to when you were 19, 20, 21 years old, new in Nashville, and you're very specifically focused. And I think goals are very important to have, right? But somebody said to me yesterday, flexible rigidity. Like,
Mm.
yeah, flexible rigidity. So you have a goal, it's very specific, but you're going to be flexible enough to float around it and be open to other things that may manifest or come through in the process of getting to that goal. And in that place, you may have to take a right-hand turn this direction. Like you decided to go a different direction because your life led you in that, the circumstances did. And all these really brilliant things have come to you. And you being you, I think that's a really, really valuable piece of information for people to know. You don't do the world a service by not being you.
Yeah, no. Or like being someone else's version of you, or like
Right.
what other people want you to be, and like that kind of thing. Like I can't, I'm too old and I'm too set in my ways to be any other person other than who I am.
Yes.
And so, what you're getting is now, mind you, there are the pieces of me that I keep for myself,
Sure. Absolutely.
and that I keep for those that are closest to me and that I love. But for the most part, what you get is what you see is what you get. Like
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Perfect.
It is what it is.
You figured a large piece of it out and you're comfortable with it. And I'm really
Mhm.
glad that you found that place of um, you're doing all of this stuff, and that's confidence. I'm really glad you stepped into those shoes. Um,
Yeah.
I
No,
think
it was a long time coming. I couldn't have done this at 21
yeah,
or
yeah,
at 20. I'd have been terrified. I couldn't have done it at 26. I couldn't
right,
have done it at 36.
right,
Yeah.
right. Do you see if you kind of look back through a lens at your time in Nashville, do you see things being different now than they were when you were here as an overreaching kind of umbrella for artists of color? Or do you see
Um,
anything?
I think the biggest difference is that number one, we can talk about it because when I was there, we didn't talk about the race thing. Like I was discouraged from talking about it. So there's that. And so you suffer in silence.
Yeah.
Um, I think too, the thing that's different is that when I first came about, like the only social media that there was MySpace.
Oh, wow. Great,
And
great. Yeah.
and so that's completely streaming has changed the game. YouTube has changed the game. Social media has changed the game. And so there are so many more ways to be exposed that weren't available or didn't exist when I first got started.
Mhm.
So like, it's a proven fact that artists of color do great on streaming.
Yeah.
And not so much on terrestrial radio. Like no one really does very well on terrestrial radio except for those chosen
The
to
chosen
do
few.
well.
Yeah, the chosen
And
few.
so right. And so, that's a show for a topic for a whole other show. But
Yeah.
um yeah, so it's a wide open market. It's kind of the Wild West at this point. And there's a lot more opportunity for artists to expose themselves and to be a part of things that weren't accessible when I was a kid, when I
Yeah.
was young.
I can totally see that. That exposure being one of the most positive things.
Yeah, for sure. Do I think that the industry has changed?
That was gonna be my next follow-up there. Mhm.
Ah,
That's hard. I know.
parts of it have.
Yeah, okay.
Parts of it are changing, I should say. They're not changed, they're changing. Some people are being dragged and some people are
Some people are
are
opening the doors and saying,
yeah,
"Let's
some people
go."
are opening doors, other people are being dragged kicking and screaming into the
Ugh.
future. Um, I mean, it's hard to change an industry that quite frankly doesn't really work for everybody
Yeah.
and really doesn't work for people of color. And so like honestly the whole thing needs to be burned down.
Just
But
let's
since
flatten
that's
it and start
yeah,
again.
just level it and start again. But since that's not going to happen,
Mhm.
um it's going to take a lot of intentionality.
S Do you feel that that's a possibility? I mean, I guess anything's a possibility,
Yeah, I
but
mean everything's possible, but I think some are more open than others.
yeah.
I think like there's a lot of restorative work that needs to be done,
Yeah.
to even just change the perception of
Yes.
country music and where country music came from and who has a right to country music
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. And so like those are the things that I'm interested in and that I try to focus a lot of my work on is just changing the whole perception
Yeah.
of it.
Which I think is great. I think that not doing that continues to keep everything in a box and continues to keep everything limited. And then also continues to keep people that are really, really talented and deserving of
On the
accolades for
outside.
their craft from being able to pursue their passion and what it is that they're driven to do, just like you know?
Yeah. No, it makes it really it makes a difficult thing already very even more difficult.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, where do you see yourself in 10 years from now?
Oh God. Okay. So like in 10 years, I'll be 52
Okay.
and the girls will be, Lord, Grace will be an adult.
Ah!
And oh God, that's crazy.
Do
And
you think of your kids as being adults?
no, I'm
Little
like,
people.
as I read with her, it's very hard to imagine her as being grown. Um,
Right.
Even though she can wear my clothes and all that stuff, like it's
Yes.
very strange to think of her as an adult. And Nova will be starting high school. Wow.
Whoa. Yeah.
Yeah,
Gosh.
my baby will be starting high school. You know what? I hope that my nonprofit is up and running.
Okay.
Like successfully running.
Yes.
That that my this hosting career has morphed itself into something else,
Yes.
cooler, bigger, my own show.
Yes.
And
Her
and
own
I hope my own show.
own show.
And I want to be making music. Like I want to continue making music. You know what's funny, Don? I just had a thought.
Okay.
So when you and I in our prior life, when we knew each other, you told me once, I see this music thing for you. I see you speaking. Do you remember that?
I just got another chill. Yes. Yes.
Do you remember telling? And I was so annoyed.
Most people that come in and listen and that we talk to, that we do individual session work, they usually leave. And I hate it because I'm like, I don't want you to leave. I can tell you're not.
Yeah. I was so heartbroken because I thought that that meant that I wasn't doing music anymore.
No.
I
Mm-mm.
totally didn't think about this whole other thing. And
Yes.
like that's what I do now is I talk. You
Yes.
were like I see you standing in front of a group of people talking.
Oh.
And you
Let's
were
hope you
right.
get bigger. Just FYI.
Well, thank you. No, it just I never saw this for
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah.
When I sat down in my wildest dreams, in my best laid plans, this is not what I saw for myself. But thank God that God saw it for me.
Yes. And that you were open enough to get out of
Yeah,
your own way.
that's the biggest.
That's hard.
Like it's hard because you're just like, you don't want to take gigs because you're like, well, it takes away from my music and it's taking me away from, but like my life is so much bigger
Yes.
because I was open to other things.
Yes, absolutely. Your 2 girls, which one do you think will go down the path that you're in? Like the musical creative side or
Maybe Grace.
yeah, it's your oldest?
Yeah, my oldest daughter. She is like the best version of me.
Oh,
Um, and the best version of her father. She's really funny,
okay.
really funny. And she's good at visual arts. Like she's the draw. She drew this, my tattoo. I don't know if you can.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, she drew that. She paints. Um, She does digital art.
Mhm.
She sings like a bird. She likes to dance. She's really smart and she's very smart. Like she's in advanced math and she's very into science and she, she's very much her father's child. My husband is an engineer
Right.
and but she's very much my child. And so I just see that Nova is still developing. Like Nova is
Well, she's because Grace is like 12,
she's
correct?
4. Yeah, Nova's 4.
Okay. So she's
Um
loving life. She's being a little
oh, she
girl.
loves everything.
Yeah.
She's like joy personified and
Oh.
like she's one of the funniest. Oh my god, she's like the funniest little person. And she's like one-liners for days and like she deadpans. I don't know many little kids that can deadpan,
That's a
but she
4-year-old.
does. A 4-year-old, like she'll just be like, and like, like and it's like, who are you?
Yes.
She's a wild card. I don't know what she's gonna be like. But it's gonna be funny. And like God bless the person that ends up with her. 'Cause
She's gonna be great because she has you guys as parents, and she has you as a mom that has been through so many different things that can walk beside her. You're not doing it for her, but you can walk beside her and you can
yeah.
be empathetic of both of the girls and their path and whatever it is that they choose. I think that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're blessings. Like she's a lot of people don't know this, but Nova is on the spectrum.
Okay.
And we just found out this out like 2 years ago. And the way she sees the world and the way she sees things, she's highly functioning, but she perceives things very differently.
Yeah.
And it's been a great lesson in patience for me
Yeah. For
in
sure.
trying to figure her out and like figure out things that work and that don't work. She's very different from her sister. So they continually teach me.
Yes. Our kids do, and
Continually.
they will for the rest of your life, I'm sure. Gosh. Well,
Yes.
I would love to throw some rapid fire questions at you because I just think it's fun.
Okay. Let's do this.
Yeah. Like, as we got to know a lot about you, but I want to kind of go a different direction of getting to know a little bit more about you. So,
Okay.
um, what was your first ever job?
KB Toys.
Katie, oh, you worked in a toy store.
That was my first job. I was 15.
Okay. Did you were you just a salesperson checking
I
people out?
was a seasonal salesperson.
Okay.
I got hired at Christmas because that was the only time that you could hire 15-year-olds.
Oh, right.
And so
Right.
on seasonal positions. So
Okay.
I couldn't even drive myself. My mom had to drive and pick me up from
Oh.
work. But yeah, KB Toys. That was my first job.
Well, that says a lot about you. 15 years old. You're like, I'm gonna
I
look
needed money.
what are you okay, well, that too. I get that. What is your go-to, like your easy, lazy dinner, throw together dinner that you make?
Oh, my girl dinner.
Yeah.
I will make an egg sandwich real quick. I'm obsessed with eggs. Like I love eggs
Oh my gosh.
and breakfast. So like any breakfast type of thing. Yeah.
Breakfast for dinner all day long, man. We will fry up an egg, toast some bread, throw a little bit of mayo, maybe slice some avocado and tomato on it.
Call it a
Mwah.
day. If you have leftover rice, throw an egg on it. Like just everything. Throw an egg on it. Just throw an egg
It's
on it.
it's so good. What is one subject that you would like to learn more about?
Ooh. I'm real into I want to learn more about like investing.
Okay.
And you get to be in your 40s and then all of a sudden you're like, I need to be saving. Like I'm gonna be retired at some point. And so like I need to know, like make sure I'm not eating cat food. So like I- on top of that, I'm a musician too. So like I don't have a 401k. So like I need to figure out how I'm not gonna be living on my daughter's couch and like
Right.
so I'm very into learning about investing and like how credit works and like all this. Unfortunately, these are things that I've learned that like not a lot of people pass down to their kids that they should.
You're
And
right.
so,
You're right. My husband and I talk about that a lot. It's like, I feel like these need to be some fundamental classes in school.
yeah, I
Hello.
didn't know. I'll be honest with you. Like my husband, like he gets a bad rap for being, Brian is the most frugal. We'll use the word frugal.
Okay.
Um, but I learned so much about credit and how to use credit to your advantage
Yes.
from him.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to him for that because I didn't know anything about that. I'll
Yeah.
just max out a credit card and then pay like $10 every month.
For like
And
the
like
rest of your life.
for the rest of your life and like not thinking about like how you get points back and like all of the
Right.
so like I've learned a lot about financial literacy and that's something that I want to learn more about.
That's perfect. This is a fun one. Do you think you could win a game show? And if so, which one?
Jeopardy.
Oh, really? My
Hell
husband's
yeah.
favorite show, his favorite game show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. I used to watch it with my grandmother. No, I just know like a bunch of like look, don't ask me to do math or anything like that, but like
Either.
not like even basic math. Don't ask me.
I know.
But I know so many just really dumb, random pieces of pop culture and information about things that it's almost it's almost Rain Manish a little bit.
Oh my
Like I
God.
can just rattle off stuff. Did you know that such and such did such and such, and this is how many percentage, and blah 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 blah. Because I love that kind of stuff, like little
Yeah, little
just dumb
tidbits.
pieces. Yeah, little pieces of information. So I think I would kill on Jeopardy.
Oh, let's go. I think you should apply.
I would love to.
Let's
Like
do it.
I would love to be like it's one of my dreams to
Okay.
be on like a celebrity Jeopardy or something.
Oh, bucket list. Let's do it. And one more. What world record do you think you have a chance at breaking?
Shoes.
Shoes, okay. Like owning them?
Acquisition of shoes.
Oh my gosh.
I have an embarrassing amount of shoes.
Okay, a number, roughly.
I'm trying to think. There's maybe like 35 pairs of shoes in there.
Oh, that's not bad.
35, 40 pairs of shoes.
What's your
Somewhere in
favorite
there.
pair of shoes?
Okay, now that's not a fair question because like they really are like my children.
So I do have a
Oh,
fair one for you then. What pair of shoes do you put on that makes you feel like I can kick the day and I got
in
it?
the ass.
Yes.
No, I have a pair of platform rhinestone. They're like gradients of green,
Oh, I
and
love
like
it.
the strap is satin. I love these shoes so much. I wore them in Europe. There's actually a close-up picture of my feet. I am so glad that I got a pedicure before we left because I didn't know people were going to be taking pictures of my feet,
Well,
and
with those shoes, yes.
and so it's like they're open to, they're amazing. I love them so much. They're Jeffrey Campbell's, and so those are my favorite pair of shoes. I guess.
Oh,
Yeah.
those will never go away. Will you ever hand those down to your daughters? No. That's be a big ol' no.
I have to be. I listen. The day that I can no longer wear heels out
Oh,
is
no.
a day. It's a sad day, and like they'll just have to. They'll have to.
They will sit in a place of honor in your closet, in your house at that point, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, the kids at that point, I'll let the girls borrow them.
They can borrow them. Don't bring them back scuffed.
D-
Yeah. Not one thing needs to be missing off of
No,
there.
my shoes are in bags. They're in plastic containers in the closet. Like they are. I take care of my shoes.
That's good.
I
Just
have
like
a first name basis with my shoe person. So
do you name your shoes? This is going a whole weird direction, but like, do you have like names for your
no, they don't have names. I just like I know them. Like I know which one. I was like, you know what? These are good for performing. These are
Yes.
good for walking around.
Yes.
These are good for just sitting and like and not moving because
Yes.
these are not livable shoes.
Right.
And
We're not
so
going to be moving in those. I had that conversation with my older daughter back at Christmas, and she was like, I'm going to wear these shoes. She goes, even though they are like crushing my toes. I was like, Okay. She goes, well, I'm not going to have to move much, so it's okay. I was like, okay.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
see, you have to have a plan.
You do have to have a plan.
So
Well, Reese, gosh, we've been talking for over an hour. I am so thankful for you and so thankful that,
same.
so thankful we met. So thankful that you took the time today to spend with me and give me some really, really great insights onto who you are at the core, what you're doing, where you've been, the whole process. I think so many times our stories are kind of put in a shoebox, if you will, right? Put in plastic wrap, and we sometimes feel like it's not applicable to open them up. I'm really glad that
Mm,
you did, because it's inspiring, it's educational and informative to a wealth of people that may not know different things that you're doing, but may not know even more so about the subjects that you are helping and the platforms that you are investing your time and talents in. So thank you for that. And thank you
no,
for,
thank you for having me.
oh, absolutely. Thank you for being you. I loves ya. Yay. And
Thank you.
I will talk with you sooner than later, because
Yeah.
yeah, we can't keep this. I'll talk to
No,
you
we have
every
to.
5
We have
years.
to. We have to. We have to do this more often.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Have a great day. Thank
You
you.
too.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. If you have an idea for an interview, or you would like to share your very own story, shoot me an email at dawn@thesoulgoals.com. I hope that today's guests and their words have led you to find a deeper space of your very own soul goals. Until next time, friends, remember that everyone has a story and every story matters.